Hello and welcome back to our video series on Google Forms. This video is going to cover the short answer question type and especially going to spend time on dealing with text validation. So basically making sure people enter in the kind of data that you want. And you'll see how all that works in just a second. As always, if you need an overview of how Google Forms works, or if you want to know additional information about features and question types, see the link to our full playlist in the description below. Let's take a look. So you see I have a blank form, and I'm just going to add a question. Now there are two question types that will get free text, paragraph and short answer. So paragraph, it basically has a bar here that people can enter text in. It'll go down lines. There's no formatting or anything. Google Forms doesn't support that, but it can allow you to enter paragraphs of text, basically. That's why it's called that. Short answer doesn't give you as much space, but what it does allow you to do is check that text to make sure the data makes sense for the question that you're asking. For example, if I'm organizing a movie trip and I want to know how many tickets people need, I want them to be able to only enter in numbers. And not only that, but I don't want them to be able to enter in, say, -4 tickets. Because what I'd like to do when I get this data is put it in a spreadsheet and do formulas. Luckily, Google Forms will let us force people to enter in data that makes sense. To do that, we use something called response validation. So click the three dots here and go to response validation. The first drop down here controls what kind of validation we're going to get to do. So we've got number, text, and length. I'll go over all of those with you in this video. The bottom one is regular expression. That's for things that Google hasn't developed a validation for. It's way beyond the scope of what we're doing today, but please do contact Academic Technologies if you do have some validation that you're trying to work out, and we'll be happy to help. So within numbers, we have a bunch of different choices. We can make the number have to be greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and so on. We also can just take general numbers. So we've got isNumber, which can take whole numbers or decimals, or we've got whole number, which will limit you to just whole numbers. So we want this, since we're getting the total number of tickets that we want, to be greater than 0. If you're requesting 0 tickets, well, you're not needing to fill out this form, and there's no such thing as negative tickets. Then you're asked to enter error text. It'll just say that it failed validation if you don't have error text, so we're going to enter that in. Alright, so we've got that in here. Let me show you what it does. So we'll preview our form. We've got how many tickets do I want? If I enter a regular number, great, I can enter 1 ticket. If I enter 0, it's going to complain. And if I type out the word 5, it's still going to complain, and it actually won't let me submit the form. So that is great. Numbers are pretty straightforward. If you don't want this validation anymore, you can just click the X, and that'll get rid of it. So additionally, you can use between if there's a range of numbers that you want to include. And this range includes the numbers on both sides. So if I want to maybe have a number between 1 and 4 of tickets, you can get 1 ticket through 4. You can't get 5 tickets, that's too many. You can't get 0 tickets because, again, that's impossible. We can go 1 and 4. Enter some error text. Then, if we don't like that, we can close it off and look at some of the other validations. So we'll go back and click response validation, and they're under text. So text, you can do various things. You can make it contain certain text. So let's say you're trying to make sure it's a .edu email or .edu website. You could make it contain, .edu. Something like that. It does have some other things on here. One is email. So maybe we'll change this to what's your email. Now, a note about this email, it doesn't check to see whether the email is valid. So if I enter in the Scholar Support email address, it's perfectly happy. But I can also enter in gibberish. Because that looks like an email address, Google isn't going to have any problem with it. However, if I enter in something else, then Google will say, must be a valid email. The same works for URL. If you want somebody to upload maybe a link to their YouTube channel or something. Again, when we text it in, if it's garbage, it understands that that's not right. If it's a URL, say maybe the URL to our form, Google's perfectly happy. But again, it can be garbage if it looks like a URL. That contains only characters that are valid, so Google's perfectly happy to accept it. The last one is length, and that really just controls how many characters go into this form. So you can either do a maximum or a minimum, and of course anything is a character, a letter, a symbol, a space, anything like that. So you can make there be a maximum, maybe you want only a Twitter length character, or you can make them be a minimum to make sure they enter in something. And maybe they have to enter at least 50 characters. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And like I said, the final one, if none of these validations work for you, is regular expression. We're not going to go into that today because that'll be a whole video all on its own. So if you do have questions about that, please do contact us. So now you've learned how to accept and validate text input on Google Forms. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, you can contact us on the information you see here on the screen. Thanks for watching.